All right. Hi there, astrology lovers. My name's Amanda Pua Walsh, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Astrology Hub. And today I am here with astrologer David Palmer, also known as the Leo King. David, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me again. I love being on Astrology Hub and always talking astrology with you guys.
Yeah, we love you too. It's so nice to have you. And what we are talking about today is eclipses. So we have begun this conversation about eclipses. What we are talking about today. Oh, that's okay. Because this summer, August 21st, we are having what is called already the Great American Eclipse. It is a full solar eclipse that is going across the entire heartland of the United States. It will be fully visible. It is arguably the most important eclipse in the United States history. It's a big deal. And so what we wanted to do was really open up a conversation, bring on our favorite astrologers to talk to us about it, give us some insights, help us prepare, and really create a whole community around this event because it's going to be really big. So there's a lunar cycle, a lunar eclipse that happens weeks before, and then we have the big solar eclipse. So David, why don't we start with eclipse? Well, actually, before we go on, if you'd like to join in on that eclipse conversation, we're putting a link in the chat and above so you can actually be a part of this conversation that we started. So you'll get live alerts when we go live and lots of amazing gift opportunities about eclipses. So just click the link in the chat. All right. So David, let's talk about eclipses in general. Why are they important and why should we care about them?
The major reason why eclipses are important is because I always like to say it's God speaking to us literally. You can actually see this magnificent moment in the sky. And signs are what we call astrology, right? Like, what's your sun's sign? What is a sign anyways? A sign is like a sign on the road telling you what's happening. Full moons are signs. You know, new moons we don't see, right? We don't see them because the moon usually is in a spot where it's not perfectly aligned with the sun in our view. So when we say it's a new moon, we actually don't see it, right? Same thing as with, like, let's say when Venus passes the sun. There's only once every 100 years or more where Venus, you can actually see it eclipsing the sun, right? We had that in 2012. It was magnificent, but we won't see it again until all of us are dead. So the thing about eclipses, whether it's right or the moon, is so powerful because we can actually see what's going on. And new moons especially are the only things that we don't see unless it's an eclipse. And so these moments are extremely important because they're God speaking to us. We can see it. The ancients, people died seeing eclipses. It scared the hell out of them. They were like, oh my gosh, what is this? And it's actually darkening the sun. It is a moment that I like to call, I used to smoke cigars and there's cigar cutters. Imagine the sun and the moon when they come together, it snips reality and can cut off karma and begin new karma and bring us to the fresh part of the cigar or the fresh part of life. Or it's like scissors. It scissors off things in your chart. It scissors off things in life and brings you to this new place. That's how I look at it.
Awesome, David. Okay, so if you have questions for David, we are going to take some at the end. So go ahead and put them in the chat and we can address as many as possible. Okay, so let's talk specifically about Great American Eclipse. It's happening August 21st. And what can we anticipate with that?
Well, there's a lot of things about this eclipse. Number one, especially for Americans, so I'm going to bring about the Americans first, and I think this is kind of an irony to what's happening in America right now, is this is going to be a total solar eclipse, which means it will literally be full, which means it'll be a total eclipse, which means it will literally bring shadow and darkness to the view. You will actually see the sun darken. It will be perfect to where the moon will literally come in front of the sun perfectly and shadow it. If you look at the markers in America, it goes through Oregon and all the way through middle America and to the south. It's a very powerful aspect. But this is happening as we are now transitioning into a new energy field. If you don't know much about astrology, the eclipses move every couple years into new spaces in the sky. And the reason why this solar eclipse is so powerful is not only because it's a total, it's not a partial. So the difference between total and partial is, okay, it eclipsed, but it didn't shadow that much the earth and you could still see the sun and you could still see the moon. I mean, it was powerful, but it wasn't all the way. There's something about this eclipse that is like the gears are hitting exactly there. It's like when you're on a bicycle, right? And you get the right gear when you're a kid and you're like, oh yeah, I got it. Sometimes you miss a gear. Partial eclipses to me are kind of like, oh, it caught, but it missed a little bit. It was a powerful moment, but it passed. This is like gears are in fully and change is going to happen. And it's happening in the sign of Leo, and it's happening on top of the star Regulus, which is the star of royalty. It is the star of overcoming in war. It's the star of regality as well. So we're also having what we call the nodal excess move, which if you don't know what a node is a knot. We have these invisible knots in space that move signs. And the fact that these invisible nodes are moving into the sign of Leo after 18 years, it's been 18 years since the nodes were in Leo, this is bringing up Leo energy, your heart-centered space, but especially at the Regulus part of Leo, it's bringing up the much more intense, harsh, I'm going to hate to use the terminology, but very fixed, personal, slightly egotistical, Mars-ruled energy. I mean, it's very intense. It's very about you and your life changing, and we're moving away from Aquarius, which is interconnectedness, disconnection, intertwining with people. This is a time where there's a lot of people focusing on themselves now. And this is going to be a time, especially on the world stage, where alliances are breaking, kingdoms are rising because they want to rise on their own. Remember, Leo's the sign of the king. And this is about kingdoms now and leaving the squabbles. I think people are freaking out. Like, why are people leaving the European Union? Well, people want to be on their own. It's no coincidence. This is the buildup of just recently, the Prime Minister of England just said, we're throwing in an election because she wants to secure this Brexit thing. Like, she wants the European Union in England out. You're seeing it in Turkey's election. They want to be the head of the Middle East now, and they want to be away and kind of the leaders of it. This is a time of leaders coming up, not only in the world stage, but on the spiritual stage. This is where the inner leaders of inspiration and light are coming out and going to show the world how to do things. So this is a time where, it's insanely intense because Leo is the hottest planet. It's ruled by the sun. And the fact that it's a solar eclipse happening in the own sign that it's home of means it's the strongest eclipse that could happen. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I have a couple questions.
Yeah.
So you're talking about how this is a time where it could be egotistical, like people coming back to themselves. But don't you think there's always like the sort of less evolved and the more evolved expression of the energy? So it could be that it might be exhibited in an egotistical, self-absorbed way, but it also could be that people are sort of stepping into their sovereignty and stepping into their power and actually living more of their purpose, and that actually could help the whole. So even if we're looking at like individuals, or if we're looking at countries, countries kind of doing their own thing, maybe there needs to be this period of regrouping to like figure out who they actually are before engaging, because the way we've been engaging actually hasn't been super healthy so far.
Well, I think that you bring up an interesting point, especially because prior to this eclipse that's coming up on August 21st, we're going through some very hard aspects with Venus in a retrograde on top of Chiron and Saturn, which means it's probably in the worst spot it could ever be. It's like the feminine energy has been thrown in a crap hole, like the sewer. That's the best way I could describe Venus right now.
Wait, right now? That's happening right now?
That's happening right now. So okay. The feminine energy on the planet and the ability to communicate with others, especially, and compassion and bringing forth, love has been very difficult on the planet. It's been much more of a Martian year. Mars is at full speed ahead. Mars is leading the pack because Mars is in front of the sun, and guess where Venus? Venus is behind the sun. So as we're coming up to this eclipse, it's a Mars ruled world right now. It's a manly world. And Venus, unfortunately, has a lot of catching up to do because she just went through a retrograde. And not only did the retrograde happen in the worst position of Aries, it's detriment, right? It's opposition because Venus is ruled by Libra, right? Which is where it's home. Then it goes into Pisces where it loves, but there's Chiron there, the wounded, healer, and then it's squared by Saturn, which is like the worst aspect for Venus ever. It's the party pooper. So the feminine energy is suppressed as suppressed can get. It was literally so ironic that right after election, you have Madonna coming out and speaking, you have all these people coming out, the women's movement, and then what happened? Where did it go? What happened to it? Boom. Venus went retrograde, went deep into these difficult positions, and now we've got this masculine world that we have stepped into. And if you look at the buildup to this summer, or winter if you're in Australia, don't forget about you guys. Guess what? The sun and Mars are going to meet up on a new moon in Leo exactly a month before the eclipse. So that means not only are we having a solar eclipse in Leo where it's at home, we're having Mars and the sun and the moon meet up on a new moon right before it. So that means the sun and Mars are going to the sun will catch up to Mars. And this is explosive energy. Now, in the positive, this is going to be people's dreams coming true if you follow your heart and you follow your own way and you follow the way that you feel guided towards in your life and you do what you want in your life. You follow your true heart. But also it's going to, bring up a lot of masculine, fixed, determined, overwhelmingly, I want it my way energy. And for some reason, the universe wants that, though.
Right.
That's
Exactly. I know.
Weird.
I know. I was thinking the same thing as you were speaking. It's like there's an intelligence behind this chain of events that's happening. It seems like the feminine energy is it's almost more like the mama bear of feminine that's like going to have to sort of fight to assert herself on some level, which doesn't necessarily always feel feminine the way we think of it, but it can be, because a mama bear is going to fight to protect her cubs, just like this feminine energy needs to actually assert some force to be heard. It sounds like that to me, as I'm interpreting what you're saying about the energy with the feminine and the masculine.
Yeah, it's that's the whole thing of what's happening at this moment right now. As we're talking in April, the end of April of 2017, is Venus is suppressed. It's on top of Chiron. It's being squared by Saturn. It's almost in a jail per se. It's like needing to bring out the compassion, the beauty, the spirituality, the let's all find a way to be interconnected, not in a Aquarian way, which is more of a humanitarian way, but more in a spiritually loving, compassion.
From the heart. Yeah, this is where that Regulus is coming in too. So for those of you joining, we are talking eclipses with astrologer David Palmer, the Leo King. If you are tuning in, give us a like or a heart so that this will get shared with more of our astrology loving friends out there. And if you have questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. We're going to answer a few of them if we can. Also, this is one segment of a bigger eclipse conversation that we're having. We started it about a month ago. We're going to keep these conversations going as we lead up to the Great American Eclipse in August. The cool thing is that, David, you are our guiding astrologer. So we have a membership program for those of you who are not a part of it yet called the Year of Astrology. David is actually going to be the astrologer who leads the lunar cycle right before this full solar eclipse. So David, you're going to be the one getting us ready for the full solar eclipse. It's going to be amazing. If you want to check out more about that, registration's closed right now, but you can get on the wait list, and you can do that through the link that we have in the chat, and also the link that we're going to post above. So okay, so this is really good stuff.
I know that date because it's actually my birthday, which I think is funny.
It's so awesome. That's amazing. So, okay, so what about people who have their birthdays around this eclipse? What does it mean for them?
So always an eclipse time for your birthday and your what we call your solar return in astrology. So especially those born on August 21st, 22nd, around there, maybe even some people born on August 20th, depending on what year they're born in. But around those 3 days are going to be the most powerful. Anybody a week after, a week before, nah. I'm an exact astrologer, so it's like this is hitting those people hard, and it's also hitting those people with a massive time in their life that they are changing gears completely in their life. I can say because there was a solar eclipse at 29 Cancer, 0 Leo in 2009. Because remember, we're 8 years to 9 years flipped, right? So the last time there was these eclipses in this area happened on my birthday, which was kind of ironic. It was like July 22nd and 23rd, and that was when I became this guy, the astrologer, and I went from a car salesman to an astrologer. Like, wow. It literally swapped my complete identification as a soul, my complete personality. So for Leos, this is big for Leos. This is going to be Leo's big time. This is going to be the time of Leo. I mean, and Leo is leaders, inspirations, and guess what? They think their shit don't stink, you know? And there's going to be, with the South Node in Aquarius now, a lot of criticism or a lot of booing. Boo! Aquarius is the audience to the king, right? It's the people throwing the shoes. Boo! I don't like the king, you know? Or there's going to be the, yay, we love the king and the queen. So how you do yourself, you're going to get both sides. You're going to get shoes thrown at your face. And does that stop you from living your heart? Or does that empower you to finally find the people too that go, oh, they like what I'm doing? So it's going to be a time where there's going to be a lot of people doing things where a lot of people are saying, oh, no, you don't do this. But then there's going to be people who say, well, maybe you should. And you kind of have to navigate your own waters, whether you're Leo or not a Leo, to finding your heart space and realizing there's going to be people who don't get it. And that's part of being a king or queen. Some people don't get that you're going to tell them that taxes are 15% or something, but there's going to be others that are happy about it. I mean, you can't make everybody happy. That's going to be the difficult part of these eclipses. If it was an Aquarius, it would be about making everyone happy. But unfortunately, the universe is done with making everybody happy. That's why you're seeing, especially in political aspects, any organizations or any type of, I hate to be honest with you, Aquarius rules the kind of donation centers, or these things are going to be kind of taken out because of the fact that now it's going to be more about rebuilding kingdoms again, and people focusing very on their own way. I mean, so it's going to be a very weird time because the way that we see in the media is flipping out about why are we going so far away from helping everybody else out? Like, they're kind of lost because that's what the South Node is. This is where we want it to be. So of course it's finishing in Pisces, it's at the end of Pisces before it comes into Aquarius. And there's this, well, we want everybody to be into this beautiful, imaginative, easy place. Well, no, it's in Virgo. Reality check, people. Reality check, reality check, reality check. And now it's going into Leo. Self-absorbed, loving, my own way, my own kingdom. And you know, I got to take care of my own happiness first, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it just brings me back to the point that I made earlier. That's all okay. And it actually can work for the whole if we're actually doing it with consciousness.
Yeah.
You know, if we're meeting these desires that we have with a conscious approach and with a spiritual approach and from the heart, then I trust that it's all going to work out, actually. It actually works out better than when we're trying to please everybody and kind of do that thing in the middle, unless that's aligned for you. That actually might be aligned for you. So I think this is an amazing opportunity for all of us to really tap into and tune into what is our truth, what is it that we came here to express, and to do that in the most loving way possible. And loving, like you were bringing up, David, doesn't always mean that everybody's going to like it. So, all right. So before I ask you the next question, for those who are just joining us, we are on live right now with David Palmer, the Leo King, and we are talking about the Great American Eclipse that's happening this summer, August 21st. It's a fully visible solar eclipse across the heartland of the entire United States. It is arguably the most important eclipse in United States history. So it's a big one. And what we've done to really facilitate a conversation around this is we have been inviting on different astrologers that we love, that we respect their opinions, and we are giving them an opportunity to tell us what they think this eclipse is all about and what's, what we can expect as we're experiencing the energy this summer. So if you have just joined us, give us a like or a heart. That'll help to get this video out in front of more people. And if you have a question, please go ahead and put it in the chat and we'll answer as many as we can. All right. So David, speaking of king and queen, let's talk about the obvious with the president of our country, the current president. I know that this eclipse is hitting his chart in some very specific and powerful ways. So can you talk to us about that and first just talk to us about that.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to show you guys all where the eclipse is first. And then we'll show it on Donald Trump's chart. So can you see what I'm seeing?
Yes.
Okay, so here it is. This is the eclipse happening on August 21st. It's going to happen at 11:29 a.m. Pacific, okay? Now, if we see this, the eclipse is happening at 28 degrees of Leo, okay? 28 degrees of Leo. It's happening at the end of Leo. What I think is very interesting about this day is if you notice the exact trine to Uranus at 28 degrees of Aries, okay? So this makes it even more powerful with the ego, the identity, the own persona, because when you're dealing with fire signs, you're dealing with ego and identity. And when you're dealing with Aries, you're already dealing with your own persona and identity. So 28 to 28, pretty crazy to have this. Then on top of it, look at Mars, 20 degrees in Leo. Okay, let's throw this out so you can see it here. And the North Node's at 24. So that means we're having what we're called Mars is heading towards the North Node during this eclipse. It's going to be in Leo. This means that this is going to be a time of aggression, intensity, more masculinity than ever. That's also because Uranus rules Aries. So now what we can do is we'll show you Donald Trump's chart. So let's go and we can go to his chart, Donald Trump, okay? Now, here's his chart right here. Look at his rising sign, 29 degrees. So this solar eclipse happening literally exactly on his rising. Look at his Mars, 26 degrees Leo. Now, so this solar eclipse is happening on his Mars. It's happening on his rising. On top of that, it's also a North Node on top of his Mars. And his Mars is about to return that couple weeks that's going on. So the other aspect is Uranus will be trining his ascendant and his Mars, giving him freedom to act however he wants or pleases, right? Because Uranus gives the freedom to do whatever the hell you want, and Mars already wants to do whatever it wants. So it's like a double whammy, and then you're adding an eclipse on top of all this. Plus, he was born on a lunar eclipse exactly. See that? See how he's got a full moon? There's the moon right there, 21. There's the sun at 22 Aquarius. So he's born on a full moon. And in his chart, this solar eclipse is not really affecting anything negatively. It's like all in very positive aspects. Now, it technically is in the 12th house, but, at the end of the day, that's just what, that could be, it's on the ascendant though. So what this means is this man is going to have the freedom to do whatever he wants. Of course, he's got Mars on top. He did whatever he wanted. He won the election. And he's born with the North Node, with the ascendant on Regulus. And here's the solar eclipse. This is all going to be, Donald Trump is the catalyst of this eclipse. Whatever it is he's going to do, which I hate to be the predictor, it's dealing with Mars. It's going to be dealing with some sort of war aspect. That's what it's all coming down to. This eclipse on a world stage will be channeled through this man. I don't know anybody else on the world stage except maybe me. I'm a Leo rising at this degree, and I've got a lot of stuff here. So maybe in the spiritual world, I'll do something that'll channel something positive or whatever. But believe it or not, I think people are going to think it's negative, but it actually looks like it'll be probably pretty positive what he's doing. Okay,
so positive for who?
Positive for, America. It's Americans that are on his turf, I guess you could say. He's also, the one thing about Leo is nobody understands the way a Leo does a Leo, right? And that's, I think, what people have a hard time with Donald Trump with, is how he does it his own way. I think it's ironic that the song that he danced to on his inauguration was "I Did It My Way." That's what this is about.
Yeah.
And he's born with the Sun and Uranus conjunct, and this is a Uranian solar eclipse because it's an exact trine. This just speaks Donald Trump. And I'm not going to advocate this man. I'm just saying the astrology is overwhelming.
Okay. So for those of you just joining, we are talking about the Great American Eclipse that's happening this summer. Specifically, we just covered how this is affecting Donald Trump's chart. If you'd like to join in the bigger eclipse conversation, please click on the link in the chat because we're having lots of conversations around this eclipse in particular. Okay, so David, if you were Donald Trump's astrologer, if he called you up and said, I want a reading, and he wanted a reading specifically about this eclipse, what would you say to him?
I'd tell him that whatever moment is coming up in July to August is the whole reason why you're here.
On the planet or as president?
I mean, this is literally the reason why he's here. He'll never have a solar eclipse hit him here again at this degree, with not only Saturn being in Sagittarius, which is in positive aspect to him. He's a Gemini with Sagittarius full moon, and he's got Uranus trining this. This is his moment to show the world why he's here and show him why he's a leader. This is giving him a moment to lead in the greatest way that he ever can. And he's got to follow the way that he knows in his heart he's going to do it, even if people don't like it. And you know what? For somebody like him, that's pretty easy. He's like, oh, good. I just continue what I'm doing. It's like, it's not much of a reading, you know? He's pretty much acting as the soul that he is, and it's all on target. I think what I would tell him to appreciate, because you got to remember that this is also going to oppose his descendant, which is relationships, right? So to realize that he's come to extreme conflict with people, because he was also born with Mars opposed the descendant. So that means he's in complete, conflict with people all the time. That even though you're going to do it your way, you're going to come into conflict with a lot of people, but you're going to have to trust that your leadership will go wherever it's supposed to. The other thing that I didn't even show in the chart is he was born with Jupiter in Libra, and Jupiter's coming back in return again for this man. So he's going to be like, the way that people thought he was going to lose and he won, the same thing's going to happen with this solar eclipse. I mean, he's still got Jupiter in Libra. He's got a lot of positive aspects. Uranus is off his Venus. Uranus is off his Saturn. He got a bad get-go. If you look at his chart at the beginning of January, he had Chiron, which was exactly squaring his solar eclipse, or his lunar eclipse, his sun and his moon. Then he had Saturn on top of it in opposition. He went through the Saturn-Chiron square exactly on his sun. Now, whatever happens that he does in August is going to affect him the most when Saturn stations and goes direct, right? And that month. So it's kind of where it's like, even though you got to do it your way, have some sort of responsibility behind things. Make sure that you don't, with Saturn opposing his sun and is on his moon, it's like, have some control, do what you want, but make sure you're not, blowing up the world or something.
So don't abuse your power.
Don't abuse it. And I think that knowing his chart and knowing that, he's got Pluto squaring his Jupiter during this, he's got an issue where his beliefs, he doesn't feel like people appreciate him. Okay, that's why he's born with a lunar eclipse in Sagittarius. That's why he's got Jupiter conjunct Chiron in his chart. He's got these belief wounds, okay? And he's trying to prove himself to the world that he knows what he's doing, okay? So this is going to be a big challenge for him, that he can become a leader without trying to prove himself so much by a belief, but just by doing action that is positive and good for people. I think he's got to drop his, I've got to show everybody in a belief system my way. I think that's his issue, is his beliefs this life. He also has the South Node in Sagittarius. So this is a past life issue. And I would say that he's a past life leader who failed with his beliefs, and he's got another chance here.
Okay. Wow. All right. So for those of you just joining the conversation, we're talking about Donald Trump and how the Great American Eclipse is going to very significantly affect his chart this summer. Okay. So David, now let's talk about the United States chart. Like if the United States were an individual, what would you say to us? So for us, we're going to be working with the energy. We're going to be working with whatever's happening collectively. So if we were all just one human being and we came to you for a reading, what would you say to us, or what advice would you have?
Well, it's interesting. Sagittarius is the rising for, I would say, 80% of the astrologers that look up the chart for America on July 4th of 1776. They put it as a Sagittarius rising, and Saturn is in the first house on the rising sign. We're having a solar eclipse now in Leo, which is going to put everything up at the top of the chart for America in the 9th house area. I mean, this is a time for America to figure out who it is. It's re-identifying itself after the last 30 years, which is ironic during the Reagan years, okay? Because the Reagan years was Saturn and Sagittarius last. So the last time we identified ourselves as America was then, and now we're re-identifying ourselves, unfortunately for some people and benefitly for some others, depending if you like Trump or you're not, during the Trump years. I know people don't want to hear that, but guess what? Whenever Saturn's on the rising sign, that's the stamp, the brand on the cow. Saturn, when it's on the rising, brands identity, right? Because Saturn is literally the time marker. So this is going to be a moment of where we are going to now define who we are. Now, I know there's a million people out there that don't want to hear this stuff. That's what I think is so ironic about the astrology and this Aquarian aspect is the way of the people is, unfortunately, is not very supported. It's very much in the hands of this man. And trusting that the people through, I guess, the election process, or however you want to look at it, got to throw their hands up and put it into this, solar or the lunar eclipse, crazy, the wildest chart in astrology you'll ever see in a leader, representing America and defining what America is. We're at a defining moment. Now, I believe that America is about the people. So, I mean, the conflict that will come after whatever Donald Trump chooses on this eclipse might be his demise. It could be where the people define America differently. So, this is going to be a moment where it's either Donald Trump defining it or the people saying, no, we don't want this, and revolting against its own leader and saying, this is the way we want it. But knowing Donald Trump's chart and knowing people born with the rising in Mars on Regulus, they win.
All right.
I've been saying this one, though, for years on your channel. I've been saying it on my channel for a long time, and I know a lot of people don't want to hear it.
Well, I think the challenge with it is that we can feel a little bit powerless. And so I think the trick here is how, because I know that's not true. Like, I know the truth is that we are not powerless. So it sounds like between now and the summer, you said some consistent things, that this is a time for us to figure out who we are and to commit to that and actually express that. And that's a very individual action. And to me, it just seems like if we are clear on that, when a leader makes a decision that we are for or against, that because of the clarity we have about who we are and who we want to be, we will have the ability to do something about it. And I mean, that's
what's going to be the aftermath of this eclipse, because eclipse is kind of the bubbling point, right? It finally peaks out, cuts off, and now you're in the new world, and now dun 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 dun, here it is. So there's this moment that is after the eclipse, the aftermath. That's going to be the revolt or the accepting of the identification of America.
Yeah.
Come to that point. Now, I said that based off Donald Trump's chart and the support that he has with Jupiter and the support that he has with the Regulus aspect, they always get knocked down and come up and win. That's the thing of Regulus. That's Regulus' story. Go look up Regulus' story, and he's got the rising there and Mars there, and that's exactly how he won in the election. That's exactly how, if he gets impeached, guess what? He would win and not get impeached. It's crazy like that.
Right.
Like, this guy will, you can knock him down and he'll come back up. It's almost like a scary zombie a little bit.
Yeah, totally.
But the thing you bring up about powerlessness, people need to realize that people have to find the power in themselves before they can band together. People are trying to band together and with no power in their own life. They don't, it's like, I'm poor and I don't have a job and I don't have this, but let's band together and figure it out. It's like, okay, all right. It's like, if you watch like Game of Thrones or any of these things, like, sure, you can gather a lot of people up, but you know what? If they don't have any power or anything, you're going to get run over.
Yeah.
And that's where Leo shines. It's the sun. I mean, it's like, Uranus is a very weird planet. It's tilted upside down. It looks at life differently. It's a revolter. And there's going to be all these, revolting will fail. This is going to be an 18-month cycle where revolting will fail. So people who want to join causes that are about revolting against people, things will fail. I mean, I hate to be honest. They will fail because they're not bringing inspiration. They're bringing revolt. The way to revolt is to be the leader itself. And instead of revolting against an idea, creating the idea of which they want and just owning that idea and being that idea instead of revolting against things that don't work.
Exactly.
Trying to kill the king in his castle, go build a freaking castle in a kingdom that trumps Trump.
Exactly. So the whole be the change. Totally. Be the change we want to see in the world. I mean, it's simple. We're not going to fight against anything. We're not going to revolt against anything. We have to actually be it and bring it. And that's the only way that it'll change. Correct. If we don't like what's happening.
That's it. And that's going to be hard though for people. That's going to be the hardest one.
Well, it is hard.
It requires balls of steel. And the balls are not throwing Molotov cocktails at a car or throwing it through a window. The balls are the courage to do something on your own and be that identity and deal with the power of, oh my gosh, well, look at people are looking at me trying to do this and be my own leader and be my own inspiration, and create my own sun and create my own kingdom. That takes cojones.
Absolutely. I mean, I keep thinking of Martin Luther King. I feel like, he's like the poster child for the type of energy that we need to bring in this time. Okay.
Of course, another fellow Capricorn, right?
Yes, exactly. I love him. All right. So we have so many good questions here. I got to get to some. They're coming in fast. Okay. Effect on other countries. So, obviously we have a global community here. So how will the rest of the world be affected?
I mean, I think on the global stage, we're going to see countries that want to be very strong are going to do well. Countries that are at a place where they don't want to step up to the plate or step into their courage or step into their strength, I think are going to really, kind of be ones that'll be trampled on. I think there's going to be some countries that are trampled on. Whenever you get Leo, it's about conquering kingdoms, especially with Uranus. This is the last year of officially all year Uranus in Aries. Remember, next year Uranus goes into Taurus, and then Uranus comes back into Aries, and then it goes back into Taurus again in 2018. So, I mean, this year is kind of the Trample Fest 2017. This is the last moment before Saturn comes into Capricorn as well, right? Where it brings rules to things. The rules are kind of meant to be broken during this time. Uranus is trining a solar eclipse. Saturn's in Sagittarius. This summer is in individuals' lives, countries' lives, and in all aspects, a free-for-all. It's a free-for-all. So unless you're going to show some of your, Leo, and you're going to roar back, well, you'll get trampled on. It's kind of like Pinocchio. When the little boys go to the island and they all go on this little island and they turn into donkeys. It's like, you need to be able to be like where you're not going to turn into a donkey, and you're going to have to be like, no, I'm not going on that island or something. I'm going to roar back. I'm not going to go accept this. I'm not going to fall for this. I'm going to show you that I'm not part of this. You know, I don't know why I got that, but I think a lot of people are going to kind of countries and stuff that don't know how to, like, you know, a lion roars, it pisses on its territory, right? If you come across the territory, you go, rawr, and then they go, okay, I'm not going in there. If countries are afraid to, at the front door, be like, don't come in here, don't mess with me, guess what? Welcome in, bam! People are going to take advantage or do whatever they want. I mean, this is a very do whatever you want energy coming in this summer. It's going to be the hottest summer you ever felt energetically. I mean, this is fire, fire, fire. Not much water. Fire, bam, with a Jupiter and air sign finishing up during this eclipse. This is going to be overwhelming. There's going to be so much heat. You know, it's going to be like people who don't know how to handle heat are going to have heat strokes, you know?
Okay, I have a question. Mm-hmm. All right. So Dorothy says, but with Regulus, one can be a benevolent king or a dictator. Can the eclipse change the way one rules?
Oh yeah, I think that the story of Regulus is the one. It reminds me of Beauty and the Beast, where he's this prince or king who doesn't take the poor person in, right? And then finally a magical spell gets put on the king to basically be humbled. And then the king goes through this horrible experience, but finally learns to love and then becomes the king again. That's a good king. So I actually think that the story of Regulus is dictator to benevolent great king. That is the story of Regulus. And all Regulus people, including myself, because I'm a Regulus Leo. Man, you guys should have seen me. I was a reality star who said I literally was cussing on ABC, which the ABC is a family channel, and saying that if they don't keep me here, I'm just too effing hard for Vegas. That's literally what I said on television, you know? Like, and then I got humbled when all of the networks made fun of me. The Dish, E, all that crap made fun of me and made me look like I was a loser. And I got humbled and restarted and even changed my name to the Leo King because I didn't want people looking up David Palmer, the reality star. So.
Okay, so there's a lot of hope in what you just said. Oh, I mean, there's a reason why that archetypal story of the dictator turning into the benevolent king is in our consciousness. I mean, that is possible. Someone earlier said, I can't find the comment, but it was a good comment about how, you know, if we're expecting negative outcomes, we're going to get negative outcomes. If we're open to the possibility that there could be a positive outcome from all of this, then we're actually creating the reality that could be a possibility for all of us. So I think that's really important for us all to remember. Okay.
I want to say one little quick thing, and it's just one line. I actually believe that Donald Trump is going to be fine and go in a really good direction. I haven't lost that hope looking at his chart. I know a lot of people have. I know a lot of people have a negative outlook on that guy. But based off his chart, his whole journey is about overcoming that and finding that. And especially with his Saturn and his Venus and Cancer, which is being aspected by Uranus right now, and Pluto over the next couple of years, it's teaching him to be more emotionally understanding. If you notice, the guy loves his family more than anything in the whole entire world. I think that he's going to turn that same energy around into the country eventually. You know, the country's family, you know. Great. If that makes sense. So
yeah, it does make sense. All right. So David, the coolest thing for me about this is that you are going to be the astrologer who guides us into this solar eclipse in August. So for those of you who don't know, we have a membership program called the Year of Astrology. The registration's closed for it right now, but we are going to reopen it soon, and we have a wait list. The link to get on the wait list is in the chat. But David is actually going to be the astrologer that guides us in the lunar cycle that leads up to this full solar eclipse on the 21st and your birthday. So this is going to be this huge culminating moment. And then Maurice Fernandez takes over for the aftermath. So it's going to be amazing. For those of you who aren't in the Year of Astrology yet, this would be an awesome time to get on the wait list and to join us very soon. Also, if you'd like to just be a part of this eclipse conversation, you can do so by clicking on the link in the chat. We have been hosting different astrologers every week to get their insights on this eclipse that's coming up in August. So let's see. I think we can take one more question before we close up. Let's see what we have here.
Two more.
Two more. All right, two more. We can do two more. It's going so fast. I'm missing all these questions. What's the orb when we're looking at an eclipse? So people have their, the eclipse is happening at 28 degrees Leo. What is the orb for other degrees that are included in this?
I'm a exact man. I like 1 or 2 degree. I'm a 1 degree orb man. I give Mercury 1 degree. I give Venus 2 degrees. I give a lot of the personal planets 1 or 2 degree orb. I'm not an orb man. I'm an exact.
He's not an orb man,
shaving, right? Like if you're shaving and then it's like, okay, I'm on this one path, but you're trying to say, oh, I can almost get a couple hairs. No, you're definitely not going to get this whole side. Some people think like when you shave, oh, in astrology, no, you're shaving, so you're shaving the whole face. It's like, no.
Uh-oh, David, I lost your sound there.
No, I'm here. I just stopped talking.
Okay.
I just did like that, and then I made people think about it.
I love when you do that. That's awesome. Okay, from Lori Nooner Davis. She's wondering, how can you find out your Regulus?
Well, Regulus is at 20. Well, in all of our lives, unless you were born within 2012, Regulus is at 29 degree Leo. Now it's at 000 Virgo.
Okay, so it's going to affect
thousands of years for, the progression of that star. Regulus is a star. It's a fixed star, and it's the only fixed star that's truly on the horizon line. I mean, the ecliptic line. So it makes it so strong, and it's at this tail end of Leo and into Virgo. But if you have any planets at 29 or around that space, the last 3 degrees of Leo, they call it, is 26, 27, 28, 29 Leo. Those degrees are the Regulus degrees.
Yeah, my Saturn's 28 degrees Leo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So those are your Saturn.
Yeah, I know.
And what's Saturn rule in your chart? What's your rising?
Aquarius.
So that means it rules your 12th house, right? Because Capricorn is 12th house. So this is a massive spiritually deep eclipse for you, and decisions about spiritual matters and matters that are toxic to your life that need to leave you.
Wow, okay.
Cleaning out.
Okay, from John, how much can we expect censorship to ramp up during the Saturn and Capricorn years, especially with Pluto still there?
I believe that censorship has already been happening. That I believe that the Saturn and Capricorn years is about climbing as high as you can to get the message out. That the only way to not be censored is by how much you emit your light and how high up you get the ladder. If you want to hopefully sit on your butt and hope that the sensors come off for your message to get, it's not going to happen. This is climbing time. Who climbs the highest up the mountain? Who is Pluto there and Jupiter entering there in a couple years? This is going to be a time where you can only be censored if you're lazy.
Oof. Wow.
You got to climb. You got to climb to the top and get that bugle. You got to be like, Ricola, up at the top. And nobody can censor you up there. But everybody that wants to just live their life in comfort and not take any risks and just hopefully just let YouTube be their thing only and not create their own. The thing about Leo is you got to create your own. All these Aquarian corporate, internet things are not going to be vocal places soon. It's going to be Leo based. Like with my app, it's on my own server. It's on my own aspect. We own everything. I do not go through Facebook. I do not have to go through any major corporation. It literally is I can say whatever the hell I want on that thing and nobody's censoring me. It's my own thing. And I cannot have the thing deleted because YouTube can delete whatever it wants. Facebook could delete this video if they didn't like it. So you're going to have to go climb your own and create your own kingdom.
Wow, that is some powerful advice right there. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Very good. All right. Okay, one more?
Yeah, I'm down.
Okay. All right. Is only the conjunction to Regulus powerful, or also the opposition, trine, and square?
It's usually the conjunction that's the most powerful for some reason. I don't know why. The opposition, maybe, but I've never noticed. I think when Venus did go retrograde at 0 degree last 18 months, right, at Virgo, that was powerful. That was on Regulus. That was it's always the conjunction for some reason. It has to be you have to be in the kingdom. You can't be outside the castle walls. You can't be on the other sides of it, even if you're on good sides. You can be in the castle.
Okay.
Think about it. Like, you got to be in Leo. You got to be inside the sun. You can't be outside getting the tan. You got to be in the nucleus, you know? Think of it.
All right. David, you're awesome. Thank you so much for this. This has been so much fun. I want to do another one. Can we just hop on another time, a couple weeks, keep the conversation going? There's been so many good questions. So keep your questions going. We're actually answering a lot of eclipse questions in the Astrology Eclipse portal. It's just it's a free Facebook group. It's a closed group though, so you just have to request access, the Astrology Eclipse portal. And then also in the chat, there are links. If you want to get live alerts when we're going live with astrologers, talking eclipses, if you want to get some of the free gifts we have gifts that show you where the eclipse falls in your chart, key questions you can ask to actually harness the energy of this eclipse, and a lot more. You can do so. Just click the link in the chat and it's all there for you. And it's really, really fun to have you all here as a part of this conversation. We really want to build a community around this so that we can empower each other and we can actually hold each other accountable. And a lot of the things that David brought up today, I think is really amazing content for all of us to be thinking about as we come into these big summer eclipses. All right, so thank you everybody, and we will talk to you soon. Thank you, David.
Thank you.